So I'm in the kitchen today and I want to talk briefly about measuring food. So anytime we're tracking intake, whether it be calories, macros in your case, we want to know pretty close to what exactly it is we're eating in every meal. So I'm going to go through the basics of tracking that and keeping up with it so we're not just eyeballing, guesstimating. We're getting pretty close. So I'm not asking anybody to go out and buy a food scale or anything. It's not that serious. We don't want you obsessing over it, but we do want you to pay attention to food labels and get you a few measuring spoons, measuring cups, and use them pretty frequently. So I've got some basic measuring tools here.
These are important because most of us underestimate how much food we eat.
So that's why we have to pay really close attention to those serving sizes on the nutrition label and utilizing these measuring tools pretty much all the time. So I've got some basic measuring cups, measuring spoons, and another glass measuring cup. So let's take a few examples. Let's grab a nutrition label. I got a can of beans here. We're going to look at the very top. Let's see if I can clear this up. So at the very top we have our serving sizes, which is 1/2 cup. So I'll grab my 1/2 cup and measure it out, and that's going to tell me exactly how much fat, protein, carb is in there. So how much is in there exactly? 0 fat, 20 grams of carbs, we got 7 grams of protein. So by measuring that out, I know exactly how much of each macro is in that serving size. So let's take another one. I've got some almond butter here. We'll find that serving size up at the top, 2 tablespoons. I'm going to grab my tablespoon, measure it out, and that's going to tell me exactly how many macros. Nut butters, nuts is going to be really important. Anything with oil, it's going to be very important that you measure those out, because you can easily overestimate and throw off your macros by a ton. So I've got one more example here. So we're actually going to weigh out this rice. So let's say the serving size is 1/2 cup dry. And that's another thing for grains. Most of the time, if you buy it in a package, it's going to have dry nutrition facts, so you need to measure it out dry first before you cook it. Or if you buy it in bulk like I do, or if you're wanting to cook a ton of it at once and just kind of do it out per meal, you can look on your MyFitnessPal and find the cooked or steamed rice nutrition facts. Just be sure you know exactly what it is that you're putting in. If you're eating steamed rice, make sure you're not putting in the dry. If you're measuring out first, make sure you're putting the dry nutrition facts in, and vice versa. So how will we actually measure this? I'm going to go in there, get a big old scoop. So some people would actually measure it just like that, big old heaping 1/2 cup. That's not what we want to do. We want to go ahead and flatten it out, make it flush with the edge of the cup. So that's an actual 1/2 cup, and that's how you need to measure everything. Measure it flush with the edge of the actual cup itself, or the tablespoon, or whatever it is. So one last thing, what about like meats, for example? A lot of times they'll come fresh in a big package and just have the weight on there. So oftentimes I'll buy maybe like 3-pound packages at a time, and I'll split it up into thirds. So I know I'm pretty close to getting a pound of meat per serving. And so you can do the same thing. Just get as close to a pound as possible, or the nearest pound. Split it up into equal portions as best you can. And that way you know, for the most part, if you got a pound of chicken, you've just had a third if you split it up into thirds, or a fourth if you split it up into fourths. So just put in a 1/4 pound or a 1/3 pound right into your MyFitnessPal. You should be able to find raw chicken in there. A lot of the meats are already in there. You just have to search for them. So just a few tips for you guys, and we got more coming, so stay tuned.